There we go. Now we're moving. All right. We're good now.
Okay.
For anyone interested in your career, do you recommend any internships, organizations to get involved with?
In terms of uh, going into education, I think, as much volunteering as you can, just so that you are in the schools and have an understanding of how a school operates. I wouldn't suggest just saying, all right, I'm going to see how this FIA teacher does that, or or just even spend time in just the gym. I'd try to get into a classroom because and it's funny because every once in a while we might have to step into another person's classroom just to maybe they had to run out and do something or short subs because that seems to be an issue right now anyway. So if we're filling in a classroom, to me it's just such a different dynamic, and you see kids in a different light. So kind of understanding the whole dynamic of the school is an important thing. So if you can get into a school and say, hey, can I come spend half a day or even a couple hours just seeing what goes on and moving with from class to class with the kids as well, and seeing how their day is broken down and what aspects of the day seem to work better or not. It just kind of gives you a kind of a broader view of education as a whole. But yes, certainly, the more times, if you're interested in being a PE teacher, the more times you can get into a gym or different gyms and seeing different teaching styles and what works for them. And, boy, this person does something completely different than that person, but they both seem to work, and kind of developing your own style from there. But, for me, it's just kind of getting out and seeing how it works in the real world,
All right. Sounds good. Here we go. Okay. We're down to the final three.
Sure.
All right. Any advice for just like in general for anyone who's interested in this career? Just anything. Shoot it out.
My advice, well, it goes back to the last question. Get out there and see. Get out there and see how it works and what's going on. And just show your face around. If you're interested in it, the more people who have seen you before, the better your chances of getting an interview, being a familiar face. Other advice, it's a rewarding career for me, so I would certainly not tell anyone not to get into it, but make sure that it's you're going into it for the right reasons. You're interested in helping the kids and watching them grow and develop, and maybe you're taking more of a coaching path and get into it. Help out with that too. The more you can do before you get into it, the better off you're going to be. And then you'll have a good understanding because there's still things that come up that you didn't learn in college because they're just situational. So I guess my advice is never expect to not be surprised by something. It always comes up, and when when something comes up, you don't overreact. You just move on with it like you've done it before, and then and things will go a lot better.
Just breathe.
Mm-hmm.
It's more personal reason. Why this job? What makes you get out of bed to do this? I mean, why do you love this so much?
This job, in terms of physical education, it's just something I believe in. Being healthy. I am not trying to develop Olympic athletes, pro athletes. I'm trying to develop healthy kids, and that is something that is super important to me. And I have a chance to every day figure out fun ways for kids to do that. And it's not about tricking them into being active and healthy. It's about helping them learn how to be active and healthy. You know, this job in particular at this school, like I said, there were a few years back, I had an opportunity to maybe apply for a job elsewhere, maybe a little closer to home, but this was, you know, this is a place, it's a personal place for me. The staff here is very tight. We're, you know, people always say, we're like a family, and I agree with that. You know, it's a comfortable place for me. I've invested a lot of my time and energy into developing what goes on here, and not just in the gym, but in helping out elsewhere around the school. And so it's a place, it's a good place, it's a comfortable place. And so, yeah, I can never see myself leaving here, going somewhere else.
Yeah, this is a different school where you can walk in and you can just by the feel and tone, you can immediately feel like you're in the right place.
Yeah. And I always tell people, I say, I'm very fortunate to be in a school that I don't want to leave. You know, because so many people come right out of school and they look for a job, and you have to take what's available. And for me, this was available, and it turned into a great job and a great career for me. Yeah.
And finally, who was your favorite student?
That's a great question. Let's see. My favorite student is I can't really narrow it down because it's not fair, you know. And I've actually had other people ask me too, hey, was I one of your favorite students? And I'm not saying the interviewer here is asking that question. But, you know, when you start to think of who some of your favorite students are, and then you start to kind of lose track of, okay, what's important here at school, and you don't want to treat them. And that's actually one of the hard parts of the job too, is we have 500 students, you know, and I need to be fair and equal to all of those students. And there are some that that's more challenging than others. And so I think it's part of my job to make sure that I'm fair to everybody and I'm treating them all the same. And it's not always easy. But if you start to pick favorites, you'll find really quickly that those favorites will start to almost take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And so, in fairness to all students, I don't have any favorites.
You went right through that question. That was a good answer.
Well, thanks.
Well, it's been a long time since we've seen each other.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for doing this.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
I'm glad to help out. And good luck to you.
Good luck to you too.
Thank you.